I don't think it's one person on that board now that was on the board when they tried to close this. With the state superintendents and a lot of different politics in Oklahoma, because we are polarized. So we have 545 school districts, the most in the country, and so you have the rural areas and you have the urban areas. The urban areas, matter of fact, lately they want to embrace charters and maybe get some charters in their districts, and then some are afraid, and so they would say, hey, as long as it don't affect us, and we're not going to be opposed to you. But it's so many different factions. So what we try to do is get them engaged and come visit the schools. That'd be my first thing is come visit the kids' school, talk to the students, and then everything else will fall into place.
Mr. Chairman, if I may follow up. Are your teachers a part of the Teachers Association?
We were when we were a district school, and I gave them that option when we became a charter, and no one chose to stay with the union.
They still have that option? They
had an option, but I tell you why they didn't stay. When we were a district school, and we had teacher layoffs, for the first 3 years, they fired my teacher every year. This was a new teacher, and we had a contract with the district that would state that we can hire anyone we choose. And the district had a contract that said we can fire anyone we choose. So for the first 3 years, they fired my teacher, and I just went downtown and hired her back the next day. And so they didn't join the union when we left. So I had to find some kind of alternative just so they can have some insurance. But they still have the option if they want to join. I don't have any objections there.
Final question. Well, you answered it about the option. I guess that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McDaniel, I want to applaud you for, you sound like a very dedicated person who cares, and I like you. But, let me start by saying, I'm a former public school principal, and I believe strongly in the public school. Just a couple of questions here for you. First of all, what's your grade level?
5 through 8.
5 through 8. What do you, in 280 kids, 14, what is the exact student-teacher ratio?
In the 5th grade, 6th grade, a little bit higher. Probably about 30, 32 kids per teacher. 7th, 8th grade, maybe about 22, 23, 24.
Okay. How many kids applied, like 280, out of 280, how many kids applied last year?
In Oklahoma, we have, the kids who come back.
Yeah.
You mean 5th graders? You mean
I'm
kids?
talking about well, you can use 5th grade or whatever. Just in your school, the people who, you've got 280 kids. How many people applied that, let's say, was turned down?
Okay, I would say we have opens every year 5th grade. So that's approximately 110 kids there, and maybe another 10 kids in 6th grade. So out of 120 slots, maybe about 140 kids. But we have other schools nationwide, probably double that.
Okay, but I'm just talking about, with you. I heard you say something about, the commitment that the parents have to make and everybody has to make.
Right.
And obviously not everybody makes the commitment. They start, they make a commitment, they don't, and then they don't carry through. If they don't carry through, you give them a chance, this. But ultimately what happens?
We work as much as possible because our goal is to focus on this kid.
I understand, but if they don't make the commitment, the kids don't make the commitment, parents don't make the commitment, what happens?
They may leave and go back to regular school.
Okay. You made a comment a while ago, too, about how you said, the public schools have alternative schools. I was a principal in elementary school. We didn't have, I didn't have that option. Right. I had to deal with whoever came through the door. And on the day after Christmas break, if somebody came through with this needs, it was up to me to take care of them. And I didn't have alternative schools. They were with me. If they qualified for a program, yes, but if they didn't, it was up to me, up to my staff, up to us to provide them with an appropriate education at all costs, which is what we did. What happens, my question to you then is for the kids who don't cut it, what's their option? They go back to public school, correct?
You mean if we put somebody out,
yes, sir.
They're leaving?
Yes, sir.
If we put somebody out, they go back to regular public school. But my point, when we're talking about alternative schools, when the district is making that statement to me, when you look at the numbers they put out, probably double what we put out. That's why I brought up alternative schools.
I understand.
I don't send anyone to alternative schools.
I understand.
They do.
But I didn't have that option as an elementary school. Maybe things have changed since I retired, but I didn't have that option. It sounds to me like, and I think, I don't know too much about the KIP program, but I want to know more about it because it sounds to me like a wonderful program that we all need to take a look at. And again, I commend you for the good things you've done. But you know, I go back to where you have an option of doing something that not a whole lot, that public schools, elementary public schools here in Kentucky don't have that option.
Well, if you brought me into Kentucky and I was a regular classroom teacher, I'm telling you, I would run like a KIP school.
But I would have no problem with that. In fact, you know, that's why I want to look at it, because that might be something that we need to know more about, that we need to incorporate into our public schools.
I think you should. When you look at the alternative, what's the alternative? Because the kids are not achieving, and so what is the alternative? I mean, no one's saying, hey, who's focusing on the child, and especially with the urban school districts. With the inner city kids are failing, no one is focused on that kid. So it's maybe 50% or less likely chance they graduate from high school. Now the research is telling you now, 10 years from now, you need an advanced degree. 70% of our kids need an advanced degree, and we're operating in the past. So I don't think we have any margin of error not to look at other options. And we're not saying change overnight, but at least look at the data. And let's see what we're doing in New Orleans, and not just KIP, but other charter schools in New Orleans and D.C. As phenomenal things going on as well. So I would say just look at the data. And you don't change overnight, but I wouldn't exclude charter schools either, because our kids are not achieving now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to accept one more question before we give you just a moment of recess while we listen to the other people. Senator Shaughnessy had a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell me, and I apologize for not knowing this, KIP, is that a national entity?
KIP is a national entity. It was started in 1995 by two guys, Mike Feinberg, Dave Levin. They were both co-teaching in Houston, Texas, and they taught 4th grade. And they wanted to keep their kids in 5th grade. And they applied to HISD public school system, and they said no. So they moved back to New York City, and then Houston granted Mike that charge anyway. And by '99, they were on 60 Minutes. And from that 60-minute piece, Don Fisher, the founder of the Gap Stores, gave them $15 million in seed money to create a foundation that would train a school leader for a solid year to replicate the success of those two KIP schools. So that's where we have a 5 through 8 model initially, because that's what they had done. But now in other cities across the country, we have elementary models as well as high school models. But it was started back in '95 with those two schools, and now today we have 99.
Is it a 501c3?
We have 501c3s.
So it's not for profit?
It is not for profit.
Now, your particular school, what's the racial makeup of your student body?
We just had to change. Initially, we started the school in the African American community. And it was 99% 2 years ago, and it changed overnight to about 80% African American, maybe 10% white, maybe 7% Hispanic, 2% Native American, and 1% others.
Do you all operate in any communities that are under desegregation orders?
We're not. I don't think currently we don't. I mean, Oklahoma City was on the Supreme Court case for a long time, and it was just overturned a few years ago. But I don't think current legislation.
Like one of the things that my Senate district is in Louisville, Jefferson County,
right.
And for years we were under Judge Gordon's desegregation order, and that was just ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. And now they've redone the assignment plan using income as the criteria instead of race. One of the concerns, and we're sort of looking at what happened down in Charlotte, where under a similar desegregation plan, where that plan was voted out at the school board level. And there's some concern that could happen in Louisville. And our history is checkered in terms of race relations within my community.
Right.
And one of the benefits that a lot of us have seen is as a result of going to school together. It's brought the community together in so many aspects. And there's some concern that if we went into this type of strategy and it broke down by geographic boundaries, that there might be some damage done in terms of this commitment that we made
Right.
to integration. What would be your response?
I just go by our history in Oklahoma. We were on a Supreme Court case from 1970 to 1990, and then went back to neighborhood schools, but the kids still couldn't read. They couldn't, they still can't read, and so we went back and then pulverized. As I said, I started sending letters district-wide when we went to charter school. I'm getting kids from all across Oklahoma City because they're looking for a school where the kids can learn how to read. The bottom line, kids can't achieve, and they're not going to college. So the parents are looking for options. I never thought I would see the white kids and Hispanic kids coming from the other side of town into our school, and they're coming. It's just like it's no big deal. So they're looking for schools where they can learn, and right now we don't have an option. Too many options in Oklahoma City in the upper levels where the kids are learning.
Thank you.
We appreciate your indulgence with us. I know you've unfolded some concepts that's really appeals to many of us up here. And if you would take a breather and let us hear from the others, then we probably will be back with some other questions for you a little bit later on tonight.
All right.
We are delighted